recording and then make sure it's up in the Watertronics environment so you guys can access it later if you like. Okay, so let me share my screen. So the first thing that started all this was our, we have, hey Justin, thanks for joining. We made a move to go from face-to-face over to virtual a few months ago, and with that caused some redesign on our content. But we weren't only focused on delivering PSN 2021, which is a combined technical school for both the ag and the turf markets, but we were also focused on being able to leverage the content past the school in the brand new university, which I'll start working on. We've done some of the core stuff, start adding content to and introducing here into Q2 and Q3 of this year. So in order to do that, we had to mix everything up a little bit. So I took all the content that you all have created, at least over the last couple of years, as well as I met with a few of you and had conversation about, hey, can this happen? Can that happen? And ended up with a list of things that were important, broke those down into 2 modules. And I'm calling them a module, and I know it seems a little awkward because in a school you might refer to them as a course or a session. I'm trying to prepare us for the same vernacular that we're going to use when we go into the university, and modules are items that are related to one another that might fall in a course. So for instance, we might have a course on electrical, and inside of that might be hardware we use, might be grounding, might be, generators, might be utility, power sources, whatever. That's all wrapped up into a course called electrical or whatever that is, to give you an example. So those are modules in a university. And so that's why we're calling them modules in the training session for this time. So then we broke these up and we broke the class into 3 parallel tracks, and these tracks offer people a variety, whether they want to do technical or client facing, or even they want to just kind of refresh their skills. Maybe they're new or they've been out of it for a while. All these things combined together created this opportunity to really reimagine how the content would be delivered. And so with that, we ended up with 35 modules. Now, before anybody hangs up and runs for the hills, the modules are all these 20 and 40 minutes. So where David Knight may have presented one last year that was a 90-minute session, heck, that could be 2 or 3 of these modules. So they're broken into these bite-sized pieces, and we allow the end user, which is the PSN member, both ag and turf, to have choice. And that is what's really important here. And I know the note I sent out to you all last week was to claim your module, tried to create a sense of urgency. And thank you to all of those who responded. And you see it here on the screen. I can make it a little bigger. And we did get quite a few modules and people signing up to do those. We're about a third of the way there, just to give everybody a point of reference here. So if you haven't claimed your module, you need to do so. We'd like everybody to be here. Remember, we asked you to help contribute content. That does not mean that you are going to be the presenter or need to be the presenter. Although I think in many cases you probably will be. But please don't look at making sure you claim your module as, geez, am I making a commitment also to teach? I'm uncomfortable with teaching. That should be out of your head. We're going to cross that road next week. This week, it's really important for us. Hey, Rudy, happy you hopped on. It's really important for us to make sure that we get the content. So what I learned last year and this year is, thank goodness you guys are slammed. And that's fantastic news. And that leaves little time for things. You're probably already overloaded with your daily stuff. And here comes along Greg trying to, pull in some additional stuff, asks and work that you need to do. And so what I did was I broke the process down. So all you have to do is give me the skeleton, the basic outline, and the content you want in there. You don't have to build anything. I will take that content that you give me, essentially your intuition and intellect, and I will grab that content and drop it into a presentation that I will have you review to make sure I got all the points that you were listing correct. That's it. I estimate, and it took me, as I shared with you, I built the control devices, and I'm going to talk about here where we have some dupes. You see Jerry also signed up for control devices, which is great. I built that module, and I'll share it with you. I built that module in 2 hours. That was going through the 4 tasks that I'm asking you all to complete, that you will be assigned after this call. And I actually built the module also in that 2 hours. So with your intuition and expertise and insights, if you really blocked out 30 minutes, maybe an hour, my guess is that that you would have your module done. So just keep that in the back of your head as we're asking you to please claim every module there is. And some of you have claimed some, and some of you on this call have not. I'm not going to call you out, but you got to get in here and do this. Our timeline is by the end of this week, we need these tasks completed. And I know a lot of you might be shaking your head or gasping for breath, but it's important because the next 2 weeks towards the end of the month, I've got to assemble that content, share it with you so you can approve it and adjust it, and also conduct training sessions for those of you who will be presenters to get comfortable on how we're going to deliver the training. So we got a lot of things all culminating together. We've been working on this for months to even get to this point. So it may seem like we're rushing towards the finish line, which we are, and we got some really very strict timelines ahead. By Friday of this week, we need your tasks that I'm going to show you completed. Then I will work on it over the next week, week and a half, and then show you review before we do the training, which is February 2nd and February 3rd. It's a Tuesday and Wednesday. And I have got, we've already got 20 people who have already signed up, and we haven't even sent out, Sam hasn't even sent out the second notification. So I'm encouraged by the early response, and I just know this is going to be a big school, and we appreciate your efforts. And just keep in mind, this isn't an effort you're only going to do now and have to redo next year. We're going to memorialize this effort inside of the university. So before I dig into the details about the tasks, I wanted to give you a bit background on kind of where we've been and where we're headed, and share with you how much I appreciate you being on the call, and of course your efforts for this week that you're going to have to put forward. But are there any questions? Okay, none so far. Raise your hand if you do have a question, because I can go remarkable amounts of time without taking a breath, and so so it is helpful if you do raise your hand.
No, I just want to say, I think your explanation just now really helps clarify what you're looking for. I guess I was even a little confused as to what the role was when you claimed a module. So I appreciate the clarification.
Thanks, Rick. We're all kind of learning through this together, so thank you. Okay, so first, how do we claim the module? Well, there are two Office 365 groups that reside inside your environment. One is called PSN 2021. That's really for the day of stuff. You can see if you go there, you can see I do have an attendee tracking. It usually takes me a couple days to update it. So these are the ones I did over the weekend. So you can start to see, and you should have received emails, etc. if you're on this list. Most of these are non-Watertronics people. So that's one thing if you want to cruise over there and take a look. The other piece that's going to be most important for us building this is really underneath the university group. And I went through that little bit of explanation on the university because that's really the golden prize, is to get that university where we memorialize this content. The PSN school is really important, but it's an event. The university is forever. And so I created the group called University, and it's within this group that you're going to see all the development stuff that we're doing to prepare. So you'll see the presentation library. I'm looking on the left-hand column. You'll see training assets, and this is where you're going to upload your content. You're going to create a new folder and upload your content here. And I'm going to go through the tasks in a minute. You're going to see, if you want, the event itinerary. You're going to see what all the modules are. And if you go to the upper right-hand corner, you can see it in a bunch of different ways. Day one is a popular one, and day two for the second day. And then you'll also see your claim your module component. And this claim your module piece, which some of you have filled out, again, thank you. You look at the items, and I sent a link in that news announcement, and you go through here and you find the one that's of interest, like Boyd. You know, he's going to be a great one on this engineered product scoping and preparing. So let's say Boyd signs up for that. So he puts it in there. It's a 40-minute session, and or Chip or anybody, right? And we're going to put claimed by. I'm not going to do this, Boyd. I'm not trying to push you in, but I'm going to put Boyd's name there and just hit save. And when I do, it saves it to that list. I didn't, well, first I put together a simple list so it doesn't have any logic, so people can't double up. Because if you look at this example between Jerry and I, and as many of you know, my background in pump stations is on the turf and the oil and gas side. But you can see there are two modules here on control devices. And as you are instructed, when you're creating your content, you're looking at the objectives and the emphasis. I'm going to go over that here in a minute. But I can build a control module and Jerry can build a control module. They'll both be valuable and they'll both meet the objective, but have completely different perspectives. And that is precisely what we want to do. And so I love that this is happening in here. Now, it may limit the total course offering, but within those courses, it's going to add more meaning. Pardon me. See, I even say courses, modules. So that is the claim process. Are there any questions on that? So when you, I'm going to go to the tasks here in a moment, but it's going to refer to this list. And I want to just spend, and I did define it in the news announcement, but I want to just go over the column headers in this to see if you have any questions. And again, I'm in the university public group. I'm going to make this list full screen, and you can do that in the upper right-hand corner by using the double arrowhead, just so we can see it a little better. When I was looking at the content, let me just switch this to only the stuff that we're going to be doing in the live presentation coming up. When I was looking through your content, I was reading through it and interpreting it and saying to myself, what are the principal points that the person who built this presentation was trying to make. That's what is listed here in the points. And so as I read through, and some of these, if you look at them carefully, you might even see the title of one of your slides out of your deck, because that was a big salient point that you were trying to make. And so that's what all the points are. What do those mean? Does that mean that you have to do it 100% on these points? No, it's just giving you reference. That's all. So the main things that you need to focus on are the objective. So what objective in this module called Bypass PLC am I trying to make? The only objective that we're trying to satisfy is working with less than 100% PLC control, period. End of story. That's all we're trying to satisfy. If you look at the control devices that I was talking about earlier that Jerry and I both signed up for, this prerequisite, we don't need to worry about that right now. But the only thing that we're trying to satisfy, the only objective we're trying to satisfy is applying and understanding equipment sensors. That's it. So for me, I chose some low-hanging fruit: pressure transducer, flow meter, and phase monitors, right? Those are sensors, applying and understanding that. For Jerry, he could say they're different ones, right? Chip, go ahead. Oh, you okay? And as we go down, you can see under electrical components, you know, you've only got two objectives. The components are purpose, dependencies, and notification something, notifications. And then understanding motor control devices. Those are your objectives. Do you need to satisfy these points? No, not if you don't want to or you aren't comfortable. The other point of reference that you have is the emphasis. So when I talk about the primary purpose of devices, and I'm looking at electrical devices, I'm doing more from a product knowledge perspective. But if I'm looking at the same one, electrical components, same objective, but its emphasis is on service, then I'm probably thinking about these now in context of, God, when something breaks, what else is going to break? How am I going to tell the person that they're notified that it's breaking? And how do I get it live again, right? That might be more of my angle than if I chose this one. But again, it's your comfort level. So that emphasis tries to pull you in to what you should be thinking about. And I think, Brent, I think you took one of these emergency operations, or you're in one of these, but the same idea. The two that are live, right, are identifying, resolving, and resetting fault conditions. Same exact objective. If you're an electrical person, you know, from engineering, your perspective might be totally product centric. If your reset procedures and cautions that you're doing on on emergency operations, that's going to be experience that you've had. Hey, when something fails and I just randomly flip the switch back on, what's going to happen? So those are the pieces that you're going to cover. And I note that when you're looking at this, look at the title. This is shown other places, but you can see in square brackets, this is a 20-minute session. When you take the time out for a poll we're going to talk about, that's at the 10-minute mark for either the 20-minute and the 40-minute sessions, there's two of them in the 40, a poll that engages the attendees with a question. When you do a 20-minute session and you have a 5-minute poll, your presentation, this module, is now 15 minutes long. The 40-minute session is 30 minutes long. If you have more than single-digit number of slides in your presentation, I can almost bet you it's too much, because we don't have a lot of time to do these in 20 and 40-minute segments. And you can go through here and look at them all. Again, I encourage you to look at by module live, because those are the only ones we're focused on right now. And that link I provided you takes you to this view. But if you happen to navigate here, you can go to this area. And I was talking one last example. And I was talking to, I think it was you, Mike, right? I believe it was Mike Warren. And he signed up for Inspect and Resolve Corrosion. It's a 40-minute session. And all 4 of these things can be considered in the live area. But again, the objectives, there's only 2, recognizing and responding to corrosion and the impact of corrosion on pump performance. Now, as we all know, Mike is very passionate about the UV side of things. So his presentation is going to be talking about this piece of it. It's a 40-minute presentation covering this piece of it. But let's say that, and I'll pull Jerry out, again, not suggesting Jerry, but Jerry might have a different perspective in the ag market based on pump performance and the impact of corrosion on pump performance in the ag market. That's the emphasis is in maintenance. He might do a different presentation. It's the same objective, but a totally different piece of content, and they're both great. And we're giving you that flexibility, but also giving you some guidance to help lead you down the road of what you want to build into your content. Questions before I jump into the tasks? Okay, so again, the principal points I discovered when I was looking at them that you guys made on your own content. The objective is what we want the student to leave with. That's what we want them to leave with. The delivery type live is when we do it live. I probably should have said virtual, but I'm throwing it out in the universe that next year it'll be live. And then the emphasis, where is it really emphasizing, right? What's the context in which I'm looking at this? Mechanical, maintenance, PLC, etc. All right, so let's talk about the tasks. So for each of these, I boiled it down into 4 tasks. That's it. And they're all identical for each module. And if you are in office.com and navigate to the university site, you can click on Teams here and get into Teams, which is where the tasks are. If you are in Teams, you can come up here to Teams on the left and hit your filter and find the university course here. I have also linked the task, and even better yet, when I assign these tasks to you, you will receive an email that says, hey, you've been assigned this task, with a link that'll take you directly to this card. They call these little things cards, but it'll take you directly to the card. So there should be no confusion about how to navigate there. Again, I'm going to make this full size so we can take advantage of our screen size. I'm just going to expand with the double arrowhead and zoom in a little bit for y'all. Let's first use mine as an example. Not that mine's the best, but mine is done. And you all have yours. And so you might be able to, kind of look at that as a comparator, look at the module and see kind of how I came up with things. And, I built this based on that experience. So the 4 tasks are: visualize what you want to do, outline it, provide some details on what you want to present, and then if it's a 20-minute session, provide 1 polling question. If it's a 40-minute session, provide 2 polling questions. That's it. That's all you do. No module construction, no mention of whether you're going to present or not. We'll draft you next week for those types of things. But these are the only 4 tasks. Task 1, visualize. So I've given you a little bit of insight here. Imagine it by looking at the points, the objectives, and the emphasis, and the amount of time. I showed you all those a moment ago. And I even gave you how to navigate there, University Master Content by Module Live. And if you click here, you'll go to that view. And so in here, you can see, if you read from the bottom up, it was right before Christmas. This is how I was visualizing the information. So I just sat down. I just, got in a quiet zone, and I just thought, okay, what do I think this thing's going to look like? So for a 40-minute block, I've got 2 polls. each are 5 minutes. So that leaves me with 30 minutes. I kind of put that in more for you guys, but anyhow, you get the idea. Then I said, all right, well, if I'm talking about controls and I'm talking about turf, then I should, you got to mention some form of pressure regulation. But with only the short amount of time I have, I'm going to do that as a prerequisite. And it might be just in the course eventually when we deploy it in the university. So I kind of, okay, that's fine. And I excluded that. Then it looks like I can address, and again, I'm just like a journal, right? Looks like I can address the main sensors: flow meter, pressure transducer, phase monitor. I'm going to give them each 10 minutes. That is all I did to visualize the information. And I went into it, I had it open, and I was just sitting here and I was thinking about it, and I was putting the information as those thoughts were coming to my head, hitting send, because you don't want to have a thought, at least the way it works for me is I have a thought, I want to mark it down because it'll be replaced with another thought. So I just keep hitting send. So that's all I did with visualize, period. Questions on how to visualize? Outline. So for the outline, I gave you some tips. What are the main points you will use to convey your message? You may take advantage of the points as your highest level outline and even slide names as appropriate, if you want to. So I cruised down here, and again, I started thinking about it, right? And I said, okay, what's my outline going to look like, right? What's my outline going to look like? Well, I decided, and again, this is just my decision. You guys can decide however you want, but it's important that you document it because I'm going to have to read these to create your content. I want to get as close to what you want as possible. So for me, I said, you know what? Of course, I'm always looking at it from a service guy's perspective, but what I thought would be most important is, hey, how do they work? What influence do they have on the station? How do they get power? And what happens when they break? So to me, that was the most important 4 things. And so that's what I'm going to build the presentation off of. And the 3 sensors and it's, the data industrial, the pressure transducer, and the most common phase monitor. And you see research in here. I reached out to Kirk, and thank you again, Kirk. And he sent me that fundamental information. So just because you're responsible for putting the content together doesn't mean that you know everything. As quite the contrary, you probably don't know everything. So, so those are the 3. That's the outline. That's all I did. Done. Any questions on the outline? So now I can see where I'm going, and I kind of have a bit of a straw man in place. And so I've got my outline. Now I've got to really kind of dig into the details, right? So with your idea in mind and the outline created, jot down what you will show, present, or discuss. Remember that this isn't all a presentation. You might want to do a live video. And if it's Brent as an example, we don't have one specific on VFD, but I'll use that because that's the only thing that popped in my head. And he wants to show that live. You could put a video camera and show that live. Teams will do that. I think most of us are going to be doing the present type piece, but again, it doesn't matter. So with those ideas in mind, jot down what you're going to show to get your points across. So remember, you have your outline and your visualization. What articles are going to be required to make that come to life so you can talk about it? So you got to see yourself, although you may not be the presenter, but see the presenter presenting it. Using the comments and attachments within this task, begin assembling and attaching content. Keep in mind that you'll need to leave with the spirit or essence of this message, not each little detail. Remember, they're going to forget. And I sent you guys a note a while back about building content. But here you go. So I created the task. You've all been created. I put the final presentation notes, and I sent it over to Randy and Kirk for review. And if I click on this link, it'll take me to that folder I showed you earlier in module collateral and management. We'll revisit that here in a minute. Any questions on the details? So let's say, David, that you've got a presentation and you're doing electrical components. I don't know what you signed up for, but let's say you did, and electrical components, and you have a presentation that's got, a bunch of pictures in it that you think are relevant, and based on your outline, you're saying that, hey, the picture on slide 8, 14, and 22, those are the ones I'd like to use on slides 1, 2, and 3 in my new presentation. That's all you got to do. So you would put your collateral inside of the folder and you type in your message. Hey, for file name, blah, 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 put in this, this, and this. Or you might have a photograph that you just upload and put it in there. So that's when we talk about module collateral and the management of that. It's what bits are required to build a presentation. That's what we're looking for. By the way, this is hopefully, I think for most of you, kind of the process you naturally go through when you build any presentation, right? You figure out what it is, you write an outline, you grab the content, you build the presentation. The only thing you're missing is you don't have to build the presentation. All right, so that's that. Any questions on the details? So that's pretty straightforward. I think most people wrap their heads around that pretty easily. The one that might be a little abstract for you is in the poll content. So again, I gave you some tips in the notes, when finished, because you can't really create a polling question, because a polling question is designed to engage the audience and make sure that however you're delivering your message is being received. So you can't write the polling questions before the content's built, because then you won't really know what to ask them at the 10-minute mark. Like in mine, I do pressure transducers, flow meters, phase monitors. That's the order I did it in. So I can't ask a polling question about phase monitors at the 10-minute mark, because they wouldn't have any idea, they wouldn't have the context behind it. And also, using that example, if I'm doing a 40-minute session, I needed 2 polling questions. So I knew I was going to cover a third of the content before the first polling question. So that first question is relevant to the first third of the content. The second polling question is relevant to the second third of the content. So the third third, or the final third of the content, it doesn't get a polling question. So not to say that that's the least important, but if you're going to be confirming knowledge transfer, you don't want the really critical stuff at the end. You want it at the beginning or the middle, because you'll have a chance to ask people about it. By the way, statistically, on the virtual delivery side of things, 40 minutes is the max that they ever recommend to deliver content. And that last third of your presentation has the highest drop-off rate, as you might imagine. So make your point early and strong so you can hook them through the full 40-minute. But again, poll questions, I talk about it here. They're really designed to reinforce the module objectives as well as the content you've already reviewed up to that point. And again, it gives you access to the objectives. You can also see the registration form, which also shows you the primary objective with the session name. So there's a couple links here, and they're listed here for you as well to access. So what do they look like? Again, giving you some examples. These will be the poll questions that I bake in to the system. So first 10-minute poll question. Is it possible to run the station without a pressure transducer? That's my question. The responses that I'm going to allow them to select from: no, bypass only, yes, no impact, or yes, semi-automatic. Then, when they start answering that, the attendees are answering this question, it's coming up in real time who's answered what. And so then you will use that most popular or least popular, depending upon your question, and you're going to now ask them another question. Hey, what do you think, Frank, about this? Because you'll see their names, just like you see your names on the right-hand column, or whomever you want to ask. But keep in mind, you've only got 5 minutes, so you can't dig in really deep, but you can add some color. So consider these polling questions a way to engage and expand the points that you're trying to make. The second polling question. Hey, Robbie, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get on earlier.
Yeah, no problem. The second polling question in my example is, because I've covered now pressure transducers and flow meters, is now it has to do most common issues seen with a flow meter, and you can see these responses and the conversation that I'm going to have. So when you fill out your poll questions, you can use these as examples, but write your own and give it some real good thought. Remember, we're trying to engage them. We want to make sure that what we're covering is making sense to them, and we want to encourage them to stick around for the next section. And so I think we're going to find these polling questions a little awkward this first run, but I think we're going to find them very powerful for feedback. So this is probably the most abstract of the 4 tasks that you'll be assigned. Any questions about the polling?
Nope.
Okay. And as you saw, on mine, this is when it was created, that task, and then I did it right away. But so it took me, about 15 minutes to do that, just to give you some parameters on time. So for each of you, those who have signed up and claimed your modules, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to assign your name to it. And so it'll have an assigned to up here, and it'll have a due date. We need this to be done. Of course, you can do it before then if you wish. But we need you to start completing these before the end of the week. Again, because we've got a hard push the last couple of weeks, and I need to start building some of the content to get kind of a running start at this. And we've only got 2 full weeks. Well, let's see. Yeah, 2 full weeks after this week before the training starts. So anyhow. So these are the tasks. You're all going to be assigned them. And those who haven't claimed modules in the claiming process here, we will, I'll be meeting with your executive team, and we will be going through here and volunteering some folks. So I always like it when people can, make a choice and grab their own. So, and by the way, if you're on the phone and you're saying, well, I'm going to pull Rudy out, and Rudy's saying, well, hell, that doesn't sound like it's too hard. I'm going to grab another module. Right on. We'd love that. And this should not only be confined to the people on this call who have the intimate knowledge about this. They might be an intermediary that's grabbed responsibility to grab the content, but then working with people within Watertronics to pull the information together. Because folks, at the end of the day, we are going to present content that you contribute. I can help you guys a lot in making it up, but the problem is I want your intellect and your intuition to drip out of these presentations, and we need you to do that. So please, if you haven't made a claim, make one. If you have made a claim and you might be able to take another one on, that would be great. As I said at the beginning, we are 1/3 done with even the module claiming before the end of the week. 1/3. So we still need another 2/3 to get this school to pull off. And then as far as the tasks, they're all going to have a due date of Friday. And please, I know other priorities come in. Please get the content done this week. I would block my calendar for an hour or two, and trust me, when you start to get into the rhythm of this, you are going to get it done. But if you try to squeak this between calls, or you try to squeak this like for me, I peter out at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's just not going to happen. It's going to keep getting reprioritized. my advice to you is right now, look at your calendar, block 2 hours for each of these modules right now, and have that be quiet focus time, and you will push this thing over the top. I know it. But we do need to claim all the modules. And when I say all the modules, everything in this event itinerary is what we're shooting for. And we might have to make some compromises, but I'd rather not start compromising at the beginning. I'd rather make compromises as we need to at the end. So please do that. And here are all the sessions that we're still looking for, and you can compare this to the Claim Your Module list to see what needs to be done. So anyhow, that's really what I wanted to show you in the task assignment. You will receive an email. It will take you directly to the task. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to me on my Last Mile Worker email or my Watertronics email. I'm monitoring them both, and I'll get back to you. And we can schedule a time to get on the phone. This is where your training assets will go. So you just come in here and create a folder and name it whatever the name of your module is. As you see, this is the control devices. This is the content that Kirk and his group sent over that I used. Now, when I get done with your presentation for you, it's going to end up in this library, and this is where I'm going to share it. You can come in here if you want to see the example of what I built. Again, it shouldn't influence what you're doing other than we're going to use the same template like we have in years past. But again, my outline dictated what I did, and I covered these 3 objects as I mentioned. You know, one of my slides was just okay, we're going into the pressure transducer. And then there's those areas that I wanted to talk about: operation, influence, how they're powered, and what happens when they fail. And I went through the same thing. Now, Jerry's presentation, and I'm not suggesting it has to be this, Jerry, by the way, it can be any way you want it. But Jerry could very well say, I'm going to do this exact thing, except I'm going to change what I talk about. And I'm going to change this text, and I'm going to use Greg's as a template. And hey, Jerry, if you want to do that, right on, you can do that, or make up your own. It doesn't matter. But you'll notice that, as I mentioned, this is a 40-minute session. I really have 3 slides. Well, 4 if you count this one, kind of 3.5 slides. The intro, and then the 3 main content slides. The rest of them are fluff, right? So that's really what I'm spending my 40 minutes on. It's that straightforward. But do your outline. Please do not work on the presentation or spend your time on that. If you want to, you can, but I'd rather you continue to claim another module and contribute more of your insights than spend your time doing this. I can do this for you. If you can focus on the others, that is greatly appreciated. I did record it. I will send you guys a copy of this so you can take a look at it. But before we close the call down, any questions or closing comments? Okay, well, thank you all as always, and look forward to getting some tasks.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Rick. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Bye now.